Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And a card for Picket Fence Studios. I used one of their critter sets that was, I think, part of their most recent release. I don't even remember half the time. It's one of their little animal crackers line, and I did some coloring with my OLO markers. I will have a link at the end of this video to my playlist that I've done, and I'll just continue to add to it like I do with everything, of other videos I've done with OLO markers, including like the swatch videos and stuff I did. I did a bit of hot foiling and some ink blending, splatter of course, and yeah, I made a really fun card. So as always, links to everything I used will be in the description box below the video. If you expand the description box, supply list, links to everything, a link to my blog post. The blog post is a little easier to navigate because it's got the photos and then picture links. And as always, my links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links, end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. And that's what helps pay the bills and fund the channel. And yeah, let's get right into making this card. So this is the Animal Crackers We Miss You stamp set. Super cute. Picket Fence has the Animal Crackers line. There's many different stamp sets with, similar little critter images, and they're all just adorable. So I took the main stamp from the set, and I'm going to stamp it onto some of Simon Says Stamp's smooth white cardstock with intense black ink, which is an alcohol marker friendly ink. And then just pressed in there a couple times because I kept missing a couple little spots there. Once I've got it stamped, I'm going to color it in with my OLO markers. So this first little bit here is real time because I don't color near as fast as I make it look when I speed this up super, super lightning fast in editing. And yeah, any alcohol markers are going to work. I am really enjoying the OLO markers. It's only been couple months. I forget even exactly when I got, the OLOs, but I'm enjoying it. But caveat, because they do look weird, these are half markers. They come with connectors and you can connect them, and there's options. And I am stubborn. I've talked about this in other videos I've done using these markers. I am stubborn. Big surprise. And I personally just don't want to have two different colors. I'm still, if I say it enough, maybe OLO will hear me. Because I've been hearing rumors, but nothing's been confirmed. I'm waiting for fine tips, because that's my perfect option, is to get a set of fine tips of these to attach. Because then I could have a brush tip on one end, a fine tip on the other. Life would be wonderful. But regardless of what I end up deciding to do down the road, right now I'm fine with using them like this. I just call them my little stublets. And I do have hand issues, but it has not bothered me coloring them like this. But if something like this bothers you, again, there's little connectors, you can connect them, and they'll be a normal size marker. But I've been fine with this so far, and then this just enables me to have just one color at a time, because again, OCD and all that stuff. So I just worked my way through each little critter and coloring them in. And it's just another one of those cases where as the coloring starts to come out and each critter gets colored in, everything starts to come together, and and it's just cute. They're just cute. So I added a little bit extra color. I made the bird blue, and then kind of went in with some of the lighter pink shades to I added it to the zebra, and then I'm going to add, of course, little pink cheeks to all of these little critters as well. So once I got everything colored, all the critters colored in, added the bit of pink, decided to give the bear with his very long arms. I don't know why I love it. It's ridiculous, and I love it. It's really long arms, and gave him a purple cell phone because, why not? So cleaned up a little bit of the coloring with the 0 OLO marker, and that just kind of presses the, inks when I've gone over the edge and that sort of a thing. It just kind of presses it deeper into the cardstock. And then I pulled out my white gel pen to add little highlights, little details, little dots, nothing too crazy, not following any sort of lights like light source or anything like that, just adding them wherever I thought they would look cute. And then the other thing I did was I pulled out a black glaze pen to add, to literally just trace over their little eyes and some of the noses and whatnot, because that just makes those pop as well, because the Jelly Roll black glaze pen has a very shiny finish. You can kind of see it at the end of the video when I'm like tilting everything in the light and whatnot, but at the bare minimum, it also just gives everything just that more depth, because it's not 100% like necessary, but yeah, it just gives it that little something. So I started by just kind of dotting like their noses and whatnot, and then decided to like do their little eyes, because a bunch of them are closed because they're taking a selfie, but went along and added them and like filled in the little, because like some of them had even little eyelashes. So I need to look and see though, because my black glaze pen, I think it's a size 10, which is like the widest. I need to see if I can get like a finer tip, because I know Jelly Roll has finer ones. I have a few of them in the white, but I prefer with the white to have the size 10 because it's the widest, and that's what I like. But with the black, I'm like, oh, for like finer details, it'd be nice to have a finer one. I gotta check. I'm sure there is one. Anyway, after it was all dry, I used the coordinating wafer die to die cut it. And then I pulled out this Picket Fence Plenty of Lines Fabulous Foiling Toner Card Fronts. Picket Fence has released many different sets of these types of card fronts in all sorts of patterns. And they're just white cardstock with patterns printed on them with toner ink, which means if you run them through either a laminator or a MINC machine, a fuse machine with toner reactive foil, the foil will fuse to the pattern. So I'm using Picket Fence's Rainbow Flake Fabulous Toner Foil, and I just cut down a piece. I did wipe it with a Swiffer cloth. I've been hearing that helps because it removes any, potential dust, anything like that. For me, I don't know if that actually makes a difference, because I keep all my, especially my Picket Fence toner foils, I just keep them in their like little containers they come in inside a drawer. And then I keep all the like toner card fronts in the packaging it comes in as well, so they don't really get dusty, but that is something I've heard helps. So I did it. I don't know if it helped. Anyway, ran it through my little MINC machine, and then I got these fabulous rainbow stripes. Love. And then you can also save the leftover piece and do things like put it over this solid black fabulous foiling toner cardstock. I didn't do that for today's video, but it is an option. And then Picket Fence as well has like just tons of options for that. So I use the solid black though. This is also, it's just cardstock printed, completely covered in toner ink. So you can like foil the entire thing. So you can make your own foiled cardstocks, in whatever type of toner reactive foil you have, specifically this rainbow. So I trimmed just a small piece of it, and then ran that through my MINC with another piece of the Rainbow Flake Fabulous Toner Foil. And now I've got this piece of cardstock that is fully covered in the foil. And it's just, it's so good. It's so good. So I kind of swing it in the air a bit because it's, hot, because the machine applies, heat and pressure. And let it cool off for a few seconds. And then I remove the backing, and there you go. So I'm going to die cut that with a sentiment, which I'll get to in a minute. But before I get to that, I decided to add a little bit of ink blending to this background. And I'm just using some black soot distress ink with one of my Picket Fence blending brushes, one of the OGs. I have had these since Picket Fence released them. How many years has it been now? Like 6 or 7 years? Something. I've had these since Nicole originally sent them to me, a million years ago. Anyway, they still blend like butter. So I blended around just the perimeter of this. I had kind of meant to have a bit wider of a white halo to go around the image, but then the image is so big that I added too much ink, but it doesn't matter. I'm fine with it. So the toner or the foil resists the ink, but I still take a cloth and just wipe it gently across everything to remove any excess ink that's, sitting on top of the foiled bits. And that also helps to prevent me from getting ink all over my fingers, because that's usually what happens. And then I get, black fingerprints all over my projects. So I wiped off that excess ink, and then I put this in my splat box because I'm still going to add splatter because why not? So have it in my splat box. I just have some Picket Fence Distress Paint. I added a little bit of water to this because it's fairly thick. So I added a bit of water to it and just used my little fan brush and added some splatter. So the other thing to note is give something like this a little bit extra time to dry because the paint sitting on top of the foil, it's not able to, absorb into the cardstock at all. So I just set it aside there, let it dry. And then for my sentiment, I am using the Another Hello There word dies, which I have used many times. It's one of my favorites. I've talked about on my channel as I don't often do individual letters, to spell out sentiments, things like that with die cuts, because a lot of times it's time consuming. It's a laziness thing. Let's just be honest. It's a laziness thing. It's like, I don't want to fiddle with individual letters. It takes too long. However, ones like this, I do enjoy. I don't mind. I think probably because they're large and there's not a ton of them. I'm not dealing with an entire alphabet that I have to die cut 20 times. And they're thick. It's a nice hefty sentiment. So stacking them, because that's what I obviously like to do. Stacking several layers together doesn't faze me because it just looks nice in the end. So I stacked all the letters together. I die cut them 3 times and I just glued them together. And then I die cut that piece that I'd foiled with the rainbow flake foil. I die cut that with the their word. And then I also white heat embossed a little sentiment from that Animal Crackers We Miss You stamp set. I stamped the Thinking of You sentiment after I had applied anti-static powder. And the anti-static powder just helps prevent the embossing powder from clinging to anything other than the stamped image. And I'd stamped the sentiment with clear embossing ink, coated it with the embossing powder, melted it with my heat tool, and then die cut it with the coordinating wafer die. So by now, all of my splatter is dry. So I adhered my little cluster of critters taking a selfie to it with the glue. And then I took some black and white baker's twine and purposely wrapped it around the card here on an angle. This is just going to kind of help cover up just this bottom portion of this stamped image. So it doesn't look like they're just, floating there. And tied it in a bow. Using my reverse tweezers because that helps hold the knot while I fiddle and get the bow the way I wanted it. And then another thing that I don't do very often, and I've said, again, it's a laziness thing. I don't usually pop up individual things like this with foam tape because it's technically time consuming. This actually didn't take very long, but usually I'll avoid it. However, I have the, baker's twine in the way. So to get the letters to, lay flat, I put foam tape on the back of each letter, leaving gaps for the baker's twine. And then this also, because it pops up the letters, it does give it just that nice little extra bit of shading, the shadow and the dimension. So again, not something I do very often, but when I do it like this, it's oh, I really do like how this works. So anyway, got all my letters adhered. I do keep a negative piece with this set. It makes it easier to line things up, but I ended up not using it for this because it is very easy to line up all these letters. So got them all in place. And then the little Thinking of You sentiment, I also popped up with a little bit of foam tape. And in the final bit of the sentiment, I'm going to adhere it directly on top of the hello word with craft tacky glue. So get that pressed into place. And then for the inside of the card, I took the image and I'm going to line it up, also kind of put it on a bit of an angle like I have it on the front. And I've got my white card base, which is a top folding A2 white note card. And I've got my little pint size paper pouncers here. I've got 3 of them, a yellow one, a pink one, and a blue one. And then my go-to kind of trio of distress colors to make rainbow, which is mustard seed, picked raspberry, and mermaid lagoon. And I'm using my little pint-sized paper pouncers to apply the ink to the stamp. And I started with yellow because that's my lightest color, plus it's my middle color. And I applied that across most of the stamp. And then I added the picked raspberry at the top and the mermaid lagoon at the bottom and overlapped it with yellow because that'll make orange and green. So then I get a rainbow of colors. So this is something you can do too with images if you don't want to color them, is ink them up in fun little colors like this and just stamp it. You know, it could go for a more clean and simple card, which is not something I do very often, but I end up kind of doing it on the insides of my cards. So I stamped a sentiment as well, and I will write right over those little images. Like they're just extra, you know, they're just a little something to bring a little color, a little fun to the inside of the card. But it's always with the intent that I will just write over it with a pen and we're good to go. So I'd added another sentiment from that same We Miss You stamp set. And then I adhered the card front to the card base, and that finished off the card. So I've got rainbow foil and cute little critters with shiny little noses, and then the sentiment and the foiled, you know, word on the sentiment, all the things. This ended up being really fun. Like I mentioned in the intro, I will have links to all the things in the description box below the video, so you can check that out below if you're interested. Thank you all so very much for taking the time to watch my video, for thumbs upping, commenting. I appreciate it a ton. It helps a ton. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you all very soon in another video. Bye.